Yeah, Endgame is good, but have you seen Doom Patrol?
You stink!
So a few months back, I talked a little about DC Universe and their first original series, Titans. And though I did not outright hate the show, I did think it had some major problems that made me worry for the app's future exclusives. Fortunately, the show was followed by the excellent third season of Young Justice, as well as a ton of updates that greatly improved the service. I was not paid to promote DC Universe, I just like comics. DC's animated shows are usually a hit, so it was no surprise they got Young Justice right, but the real challenge would be their next live-action show, Doom Patrol. So how is Doom Patrol? Well, I'm gonna go ahead and call it DC's best show in years. The Doom Patrol are often referred to as the original X-Men. I mean, a gang of outcast superheroes led by a genius in a wheelchair. How could you not make the connection? But it wasn't till the late 80s when Grant Morrison took control that Doom Patrol changed, becoming a celebration of absurdity in comic books, fully embracing the idea of the world's strangest heroes. The Doom Patrol TV show takes the majority of its inspiration from Morrison's comics. It fully embraces the weird in a way that I wish other comic book movies and TV shows would. This is a show with an evil cockroach, a sentient genderqueer street, and Donkeyvore. Right off the bat, the first thing that stood out to me about this show was how much bigger the budget was when compared to Titans. There were a lot more big set pieces, explosions, and lots of CG being used. The show features the characters of Cliff, Rita, Jane, and Larry, a gang of immortal superhumans that have been hidden away from the rest of the world by Dr. Niles Calder, aka the Chief. The Chief goes missing and it's up to the others to find him. With the help of Cyborg, a friend of Niles, they embark on a bizarre journey to find him, and even learn a thing or two about themselves and each other along the way. What Doom Patrol does better than almost any previous TV show is developing its characters. Each character comes from a different decade and have experienced a tragedy in some way. Their powers are treated less like superpowers and more like disabilities. These are not powers that any of you would want, and the show makes sure you're aware. Though being a robot would be pretty cool. The show even has an amazing cast. I mean, everybody does a great job. One of the more notable casting choices is my man, Brendan Fraser as the voice of Robot Man.
My man!
We also get to see Timothy Dalton as Niles Calder. It's the back-in-action family reunion we always wanted. The show has this excellent balance of both comedy and drama. It knows exactly when to switch back and forth and how much is too much. The pacing of the show is very different from what most people are used to, with stories told out of order, leaving a lot of questions to be answered in later episodes. But as someone who really enjoyed Grant Morrison's run, I'll say they pretty much nailed bringing his writing to life while still finding a way to do their own thing. Doom Patrol is also filled with references to the original comic book run. They're not all necessary to understand the show, but chances are you'll get a lot more enjoyment out of it if you're somewhat familiar with the comics.
Empty the register! Now! 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 God damn it! Stop! Stop! Not the face! Not the face! Ow! Ow!
There were some things I liked better about the comics, and things I liked better about the show. One major change was Niles Calder's character. In the comics, he's an A-grade asshole, while here, he's much more sympathetic. I like both interpretations, but I think the kinder Niles with a guilty conscience works better for this show and its theme of moving on from past mistakes. The main villain of this show, Mr. Nobody, is a lot of fun. He's played by Alan Tudyk of Tucker and Dale vs. Evil fame. The idea of a villain who is able to break the fourth wall is something pretty new in the realms of live action. We've seen it before with heroes like Deadpool, but having a villain who pretty much has control over the narrative makes for a tougher foe, even if he is handled comedically. Doom Patrol's episodes are more episodic in nature. Yes, there is an overarching plot, but it's the kind of show you could watch an episode out of context and still have a fun time with. Cyborg is also worth mentioning because he's a character that gets thrown around between superhero teams a lot. I really liked him here as his past trauma and robotic enhancements made him feel like a true member. I also like that DC seems fully aware now that Cyborg works better in teams, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The more Cyborg, the better. Like any show, Doom Patrol is not without its flaws. Sometimes the way the narrative flows can feel kinda messy, especially with the last episode, which, without spoiling, it still manages to be a lot of fun, but felt rather rushed, though it didn't bother me too much, cause I can at least say it felt like a finale, unlike a certain show. And as long as we're getting more episodes in the future, I'm pretty satisfied with how season 1 ends. Doom Patrol is everything Umbrella Academy wishes it were. It's a ton of fun, yet extremely heartfelt with a strong emotional core. It perfectly captures the feel of a Vertigo comic, and you can't help but root for these characters and hope that everything will turn out fine in the end. Doom Patrol is the best comic book TV show in years, and may very well be DC's best live-action show. It's a love letter to anyone who's ever felt a little different. Words can't describe how happy it made me, as it's on par with some of their best animated shows. Until season 2, I am looking forward to the other new shows DC Universe has to offer. Swamp Thing will have aired by the time I upload this, so I'm hoping I enjoyed that. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.